make the loudest noise possible for the producer of this show and my drag mother. Give it up for Lady Sativa! What is up, Blush and Blue? Okay, so we're talking about what tonight? Sex, right? Okay, so when I ask that question in the future, all you gotta do is just scream sex at me. And that's what a whole bunch of people say, sex at me. This is my song about that very motherfucking thing. Well, you came down here to be entertained. You paid no cash to see me sing. And I took back my late side. My lashes contoured my nose. I slapped on a pair of pantyhose. I did my wig. You know how we go tonight. Tell honey and I'm gonna start selling. These lips and tits and hips don't come for me. Daddy, I ain't no hoe, but there it is. If you wanna see a show, sex sells, honey, and my money looks good to me. Sex sells, honey, and the money looks good to me. I need hate. Well, if you weren't horny before the show started, I hope that we're gonna get there by the end, because there's a bathhouse right down the street. There's a lot of things that I go through just to get a little rise out of you. You'd be surprised how much I put into this bond. And I'm not just talking about dildos. You wanna learn something, baby, don't go deep. Hold out your wallet, show me some treat. I'm fucking worth it, I'm so damn deep. For the God, sex sells, honey, and I'm gonna start selling. These lips and tits and hips don't come for free. Daddy, I ain't no hoe, but you is. And if you wanna see a show, sex sells, honey, and the money looks good. Sex sells, honey, and the money looks good. Should have a little bounce of ball. And I'm gonna start selling, which is what I said. These lips and tits and hips don't come for free. Daddy, I ain't no hoe, but chicken. And if you wanna see a show, sex sells, honey, and the money looks good to me. Sex sells, honey, and the money looks good to me. Alrighty then. Thank you all so much, and welcome to the Sesh. How is everyone tonight? I am Lady Sativa, and so are you. What that means is that I'm no better than you, you're no better than me, but we're all a hell of a lot better as we. Can I get some noise? Alright, we're here tonight to talk about what? Yeah. Well, I didn't even have to go outside to get wet. That's perfect. I'm actually proud already. So, here's a little bit about the show tonight. We're talking about sex shaming. We're talking about sex work and slut shaming. Obviously, we're not doing any slut shaming here tonight. We will be shaming slut shamers a little bit. But if anyone does have any opinion that does not meld right next to yours, give them respect and give them love in this room. Because we're not going to have any disagreements in here. We're only going to build bridges. We're not going to tear anything down, okay? All right. So, right at this time, I want to give a little bit of love to my unbelievable Sesh crew. Please make some noise for your DJ, Dominique! Back here on projections, Paula Resner! We have marketing director, Aaron Beck! I was going to wait for you to do that spinning thing with the camera, but, you know, she's being modest tonight. We also have running around somewhere our stage manager, Christian Rivers. Okay, and now we have a couple surprises tonight. We have a birthday. We have a birthday. One of our guests is having a birthday tonight, and that's exciting. And then I don't know. Maybe we'll have an orgy later. Cool. Yeah, we were in the right building for that. You have an amazing bartender back there, and I have a feeling that she'll stir up something to put in your mouth if you just ask nicely. Consent is sexy. All right, so yeah, not really that many ground rules. If you do happen to become nude or anything like that, just make sure that our camera's pointed the other way, and we'll all enjoy. I have taken the high road this evening by not dressing as slutty as normal. But I've also taken the high road by having copious amounts of sativa. Do we have any weed smokers in the audience? Make some noise. Do we have any drinkers in the audience? Do we have any meth heads in the audience? No. Well, we're not shaming meth heads either. We love them. We just hope they make better decisions. And every single one of us, and if I can't get some noise on this, I don't know what I can. Every single one of us are good people that make bad decisions sometimes, and we're all fucking equal. On that lovely note, I'm going to introduce to you my first guest. And hello to the live audience, or to the recorded audience, or to whatever in the hell Aaron's doing back there half naked. Let's make some noise for Aaron's half naked body. My first guest. I don't know if you read, but I put out a nice long biography of every single awesome achievement. And court battle, and TV show, and everything that this next one's been on. So, until I get a teleprompter that's going to tell me all those little things, I'm just going to introduce my first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Pasha Eve! Hello. Oh, your mic is right there. I was gonna call you Boobula, and then it made me directly look to your chest, and I feel like that's something misogynistic, even if I'm in drag. Okay, but we look. So I'm gonna tell that story later. I have a client. I'm a massage therapist. Okay, we'll get to that too. On the topic of slut-shaming or sex work, you choose. Yeah, it's a story about a client of mine that it actually looks like a certain person in the media right now. So, right now, I want us to get to know Pasha. Pasha, tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. You can brag. There's a whole list. Like I said, it's a long list, and she's probably just going to touch on a couple of them, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of good stuff.
As far as sex work goes, I've pretty much done everything that you could possibly do and make cash off of it. And so I started as a dancer, a stripper when I was a teenager, and throughout the years I've also done phone sex, cam work, escorting, and I was a madam. I was the madam that testified against the CU football program during their rape scandal. And and that cost me dearly, actually. So, my son and I were homeless afterward because I lost my straight job, everything. It sucked because I was out of the business. And so that sucked.
We will get that for sure.
So, that was a thing. And because of that, I had some notoriety and was on different TV shows, blah, blah, blah. I have...
Which TV show?
A friend of mine was messaging me the other day because she's getting her master's degree in teaching, and she had an ethics and education class, and they were showing my old 2020 interview from like a long ass time ago. But I've done everything from local TV news to Out Front was actually about sex work last year. Yeah, about this time last year. And in 2020. Oh, my favorite, Montebello.
Yeah?
No.
Yeah. No? I love that you know my Perfect.
Yeah.
So as compared to we're gonna sing happy birthday to Pasha in just a little bit. She's celebrating a birthday this year, and I'm blown away whenever I actually heard. I'm not gonna say it.
No, that's fine. I'm 50. I just turned 50.
You just look great. You just look great. So, at 50, this is kind of my bro. At 50, what would you have told a 15-year-old Pasha in regards to the way the world tends to slut shame, or in regards to your sexual presence or your sexual publicness?
Well, okay. So what would I tell my 15-year-old self? I have to be delicate here. I think I would tell myself just to be a little gentler with my own self and not to lie to every partner that I had that I was a virgin still. Because, I was a virgin in a bunch of times. But that having been said, just to accept that being sexual is not, because I grew up in rural Oklahoma. And I'm half Asian, I'm half Korean. I was born in Wonju, and I had a crazy completely right-wing, nutty, super religious mother who believed in casse on demons and the whole 9 yards. So sex was extremely shameful.
Hashtag
so, So it was something that I was very ashamed of, and of course it was something I had a lot of shame around. And I just remember, not as a trans thing, but as being a busty teenager, binding myself. Because having tits was worse slutty.
Wow.
So
just being one.
Yeah. Also, I was my partner is going to get irritated with me because I say this and it gets put in the media. I'm queer AF, queer as fuck. Mm-hmm. And at 15, I had my first girlfriend before I had my first boyfriend, and I would have told my 15-year-old self to be okay with that.
Wow, yeah.
With it.
Right? Make some noise for that. I don't know what I would tell my 15-year-old self. I don't know if it was... don't do illegal shit. Don't do some of the illegal shit. Some of this shit shouldn't be illegal. And on that note, I'm going to assume that you are for legalization of sex.
I'm actually for decriminalization.
Decriminalization.
Yeah, because when you legalize something, that means it can be illegal in some way.
Oh, okay.
And also, usually with legalization, like with the Swedish model, there are all kinds of hoops that people have to jump through, and usually those affect most of the most like disenfranchised peoples, whether that's minorities or queer people or people in rural areas. For instance, if you have to be tested every month, but you live in the middle of nowhere and don't have any transportation, then you get rendered illegal. And so I just think it should just not be against the law at all.
Right, decriminalize it. Okay, for that, for sure. How do we go about that? Because I know that you probably have methods or anything. I'd love to know what you think.
Well, I mean, I have an anti-human trafficking nonprofit, and at the same time, we support sex worker rights. And 99% of what I do when I do speaking engagements is explain that it's like everything else in life, a spectrum. Over here, you have consenting adult sex workers, which make up the vast majority of the commercial sex industry. And over here, you have a very, very much smaller than people realize population of what people would think of when they think of sex trafficking victims, people who are being coerced or held against their will. And in the middle is this big gray area called survival sex, which is where I was. My son is a special needs kid. I was a single mom. And so you do what you got to do. And in that case, are you a human trafficking victim? If you don't have a pimp, if you don't have a madam, if you're not working for a service, but your kid needs meds, who's the pimp? Honestly,
right.
We all kind of are. That's the way society has kind of set up the rules. Is sucky as it is what makes people. And I don't really like the term survival sex work because any job in a way is survival. Okay. Survival DJ, survival bartender.
And you survive always. Usually it's all in some way sex work. Like most jobs, at least service jobs, are all in some way sex work. At least at this point, people tend to put. What I've seen, people tend to put women in that position to where they. I grew up in South Texas, and it was very common to hire waitresses just based on their looks. In every restaurant, even a truck stop fucking restaurant, seriously. And I always thought that was weird. And my mom was just like, "Well, that's the way it is." And no offense, but
yeah, it's true. I mean, if anybody here has been a server, you know that you get harassed by a lot of customers. You know that if you want a big tip, you flirt, and that's very akin to a lot of sex work.
Well, yeah. Tell me what you feel about whenever somebody asks you about the sex work, burlesque. No, the burlesque versus stripper. Lord. The stripper versus burlesque.
That is such an
argument.
Weirdly contentious thing. People are really passionate on one side or the other, it seems like. And I have had burlesque performer friends who are like, no, this is an art, meaning stripping is not an art in some way, and it's usually not their day job that they live off of, and so it's a performance, it's art, and then some of my other friends that are burlesque performers are like, I strip down to tassels and swing them on my boobs, and if that's not stripping, I don't know what is.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on who you talk to. I personally think that with any job, you can turn any job, like we were talking about serving, you can turn that into an art. And so stripping can be an art. So I definitely see how all of it can be an art. And, but unlike a lot of starving artists, you actually get paid.
Right, okay. Exactly.
And, but yeah, so I see it both ways, but I honestly think I think it's akin to stripping. You're taking off your clothes, you're taking money, you're getting tips, and there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. So,
yeah, society will tell us that it's that it's shameful to show our bodies, but really, really reward people that do in weird ways, and it's just like this mind fuck of like, do I like my genitals or not? And I am on that I do. And hopefully a few other people do too. So, what is the weirdest instance that you've ever been slut-shamed where you've just been like, what?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, when I was going through the seed thing and I testified, it was pretty blatant. I mean, I was on the cover of newspapers, on TV shows, and ESPN, blah, blah, blah. And so I had people walking up to me throwing hot coffee in my face while I was getting gas. I was spat upon often. And so that was not much fun. But even, within my circle of friends, being slutty or not slutty, depending on which group you're hanging out with, is a pro or a con. So I've hung out with a lot of friends that now that I'm in a monogamous relationship, they're all like, what? And they freak out. But then I, so it's back and forth. But, you're right. In America, they are very prudish about a lot of things. And they use sex to sell everything, chewing gum,
Oh, definitely.
So,
and we use it to sell things to kids. It's really weird. But it's like sex sells, as the song says. And so, anytime I'm doing any type of advertising at all, I always go to that first because I was in a leadership training course, and that was actually one of the processes was sex sells, and we had to use these little wooden objects and put them together, and of course there would be the long ones and falls and blah 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 blah. But seeing as how sex sells, tell me this: who does more slut shaming? Men, women, or the non-binary community?
oh Lord. I think with any gender or non-gender, I think that a lot of, I think it's, honestly, I have, in my own personal experience, it really has been even across the board. It really, really has. Because a lot of women, they think sex workers are, trust me, I'm not out to steal your man. I could care less. I'm just out to get his money, all right?
Exactly.
But
I'm here to save your fucking marriage is what I'm here for.
Oftentimes, yeah, definitely. But conversely, guys will definitely. We have through Parasol Patrol, we have a group of men that call me out for having been a sex worker in the past, and that I have a human trafficking nonprofit now, and they say it's a front that I'm using to groom and condition children to be victims of sex trafficking. And so that's always fun. So yeah, even now, just for having any sort of history, whether you're proud of it or not, or ashamed of it or not, things definitely stick around and bite you in the butt one way or the other. I am not ashamed of my life. It allowed me to pay my bills and not be homeless and provide for my child, who, when he entered into high school, they said that the odds of him attempting suicide were higher than his odds of graduating. And because I did what I did, I was able to spend money on what he needed medically, and I was also there with him a lot more because he worked fewer hours. He graduated on the honor roll. So
right for that.
So
and happily alive. Good.
Yeah.
All right. But before we finish, tell us a little bit more about Parasol Patrol and introduce Eli over here.
Okay. Eli over here, this good-looking guy with the right? He's pretty young. He's nice to meet you. He is a Marine veteran, and we're both queer as fuck. And a little off balance. No, the chair broke. That was not his fault, the chair broke. But it's all those muscles weighted down. Yeah, right? No, seriously, you have no idea. So
maybe we'll have some stripping tonight. That was just a precursor to the actual show.
Right, the show, yeah.
Start out on the floor. I like it.
As long as you make it rainy, But yeah, so we're both also incredible nerds, like the biggest nerd you're ever going to meet. He's got his Star Wars tattoos to prove it, and I've spoken at lots of Comic-Cons, like it's been crazy. But that having been said, the owner of Mile High Comics came out 3 years ago as being gender fluid and is an amazing drag queen, and decided to offer a space for kids, youth, to have an all-ages drag show. And right away, he was getting hate mail and emails that were threatening. And so Eli knew that this was coming up, and he bought from his own pocket ear protection and this big umbrella and walked kids safely past the protesters using the umbrella so they didn't see the signs, some of which were borderline pornographic, and the things that would yell at the kids. Ear protection to protect them from that, and we got up to like 5 or 6 volunteers, and there were more and more. The number of the protesters was doubling every time. So I asked him, and I started a Facebook page and just put it out there on one queer group and the Free Mom Hugs group. And we had over 70 people.
That's amazing. Yeah. I know that Onyx does a lot of work with that. Everybody loves Onyx. Dominique, it's this song. The one I was asking about. What is it?
Paradise Club.
Oh, okay. Write that down. Sorry. I was doing the on the phone. And you used to be able to do that with Shazam, and it would actually get it.
See, when you do that to me, all I think of is Batman, because
exactly. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have? Anything you want the audience to know? Anything pressing?
It's your birthday.
Anything I would like to tell people, which would be, if you're working with a lot of rescue groups, go out and talk about human trafficking and how they're going to rescue people and save them. And when you put it like that you're going to swoop in and save people, it creates a dynamic in which you have power that makes people feel less than, even subconsciously. And so a lot of these rescue groups, please make sure before you donate, before you book them to teach a workshop, anything, make sure they have a real sex worker that's on their board or help put together their curriculum. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a bunch of shitty statistics and how are all centers are going to burn in hell.
Right. Yeah. You want somebody that's had some experience up in there.
I've had enough experience for the whole freaking room.
Right. Gosh, it's been super cool talking to you. We're going to talk a whole lot more. I want to do a podcast with you as well.
Yeah, one more really quick one.
Go.
Most of the dangerous things that happen to sex workers, like being assaulted, raped, robbed, it's because it's criminalized. Because if you were put in that situation, the last thing they say to you, and this has happened to me, unfortunately, is, what are you going to do? Who are you going to tell? Because you can't really do anything. California just passed a safe reporting law, which allows human trafficking victims and sex workers to report that without they themselves being put on arrest. I'd love to see that in Colorado. So I helped last year, we passed a law that made it illegal for police officers to have sex with people in their custody. So
had to be a law?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, what's crazy is they tried to pass it 2 years ago and it didn't go through.
Oh my gosh. That's
anyway,
That's
yeah.
Nice. This whole last part was just chilling as fuck. But I mean, great to hear the truth. And that's exactly why we do these shows, is to get truth like this out there and to have some education going on.
And talk about how hot Eli is.
And how hot Eli is. I think I kind of like it a little better on the floor. Christian, kick that thing out again. You did good the first time. Everybody, please make some noise for Pasha Eve. It's really interesting because one of them is a go-go dancer, and one of them looks like they carry a Bible to school. But let's meet the the Bible-licious first. And I have to say that, I think it was Monday night. Yeah, Monday night, I saw this one in a limbo contest. And if anything, go to Charlie's on Monday to see the limbo contest. Ladies and gentlemen, because they make them go it's in all underwear too, because it's Undy Monday kind of thing. Anyway, people drink free all night if you are in your undies, I guess. And here I am advertising a place that I don't like that much. But it's going on undies. And in underwear, and probably still in clothes, my next guest still looks great, but probably has a few things to say. Let's make some noise for Nick Marlow! Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, thanks for being here. So, I'm just gonna dive right in. Actually, I'm not gonna dive right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like your age, what do you do?
So I'm Nick Marlow. I'm 22 years old. My birthday's in 2 weeks. I'll be 23. So right now I'm a full-time interior design assistant at a furniture store. I just got that job. I like it so far. So what do you want?
No, that's good. Where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm from Denver. I've lived in other places, Montana, Oregon. I like Colorado the most, except this weather.
You don't like this weather? I love this one. I don't like that it doesn't always get people in here, but the people that are here are the best. So that's your boyfriend is a go-go dancer. A lot of people would, what do you say to the people that say, how do you deal with that?
So I definitely support him for go-go dancing. I always was scared people would judge either my boyfriend or me I was always scared people would judge me for dating a go-go dancer because for always seeing pictures of him in his underwear, I wasn't sure how they would think of that. I know, my mom has seen pictures of him, and she definitely she has not met my boyfriend yet. We've been dating for 7 months, but,
That's like 32 years of gay years.
Really?
Yeah, it really is.
That's like time to write the will.
Okay. Thinking out China.
Right?
No, but there have been people who have come to my mom saying oh, he's hanging out with the wrong crowd just for the picture she's seeing.
Wow.
And that makes me mad because she hasn't met my boyfriend, and I don't think you should ever judge someone based off a picture you see of them.
Okay.
You can't judge a book by its cover. You have to read it.
Read it or let it read you, right?
Yeah, but actually, I auditioned to be a go-go dancer myself last week. And it was a lot of fun. I was nervous, but I got out of my shell. I'm a pretty shy person, it was definitely a big step for me, so it was a lot of fun.
I'm such an asshole. I have to tell you, part of this whole process of booking these two, and then today deciding to have Nick on first, was because I kind of got that about you, and I don't know if it's just a really weird extrovert thing that I like to do. I like to see if intros can at least, push themselves a little bit. If there was I'd been a single no, I wouldn't have even made him come out here. I think it's awesome that you're out here by yourself. Good job for that. Especially if you plan on doing go-go. And where are you hoping to go?
So Pine and Swagger, I want to go to X-Bar next and audition there, and then also Bar Suite.
Oh yeah, Denver's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings up another go-go friend of mine, Scott Wesley, good friend of yours, and also a co-go-go. A co-go-go? Is that a thing? That's awesome. Is a friend of mine. He's also a go-go dancer, and he's incredibly intelligent. I tried to get him on the show, but his hours, he works really, really strange hours. He goes to bed when we wake up, that's for sure. And so, at the beginning, I think a lot of people thought that Arian and Scott were dating. And whenever you first started dating Arian, did people did they have a response to that? People thought that they were dating?
So yes, Arian and I get very jealous of each other because a lot of times we feel like one or the other is getting more attention from other people.
Oh.
And we actually had an open relationship, closed it about 2 weeks ago. But because we always got jealous of each other. And that's why we were breaking up a lot and always getting back together because we were always jealous that we would always think we're sleeping around with other people.
Right.
And so I didn't like that because I always thought he was getting more attention than me for his go-go dancing. People were always coming up to touch him, and I didn't like that, but...
But you're still together. That's interesting. I mean, I'm loving that. Because obviously there's something that can supersede that, and I'm pretty sure people call that love. On that note of, I hope I don't lose it because I think I feel it flying away right now. That's always fun. So I think it's probably good. Let's switch on over. Can we switch boyfriends now? Do you have anything else that you wanted to say to add to any of that? I know what I was gonna say. It had to do with the jealousy thing. This is just a little bit about me. I have gotten to a point where the last 3 relationships that I've been in have been incredibly comfortable by being romantically closed and physically open. What ends up happening, and I ended up explaining this I ended up explaining to people and getting more than most, issues that I'm feeling strongly about, which are just most issues. And it has to do, in my opinion, that I feel that monogamy a lot of times requires a level of dishonesty between 2 people that a sexually open relationship doesn't, because there's so many times that you have to be like, what are they doing, or what are they, and it's all tied to sex. It's all tied to their genitals and stuff like that. And I mean, at this, and even before prep, I finally got to a point where with my partner, I was like, I'm really fucking happy to see you happy. And if this kind of thing makes you happy, then why couldn't it make me happy? So I delved into that thought for a little bit, and then ended up being just happy. And then there are people that have completely different ideas about relationships. Monogamy works really, really great for some people. And so I think that I think it's cool that you're both sticking with each other while you figure out what's really, really comfortable for you. I commend you for that. That's awesome. So yeah, let's flip. You want to flip? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna flip up and introduce. Make some noise for Nick Marlow. Nick's gonna be back in just a little bit, but right now I want to introduce Arian Clements. Oh, I'm tall. Did you get it? Oh, you're not having a donut. We'll talk about that. Is that because of the slut-shaming or because of the fat-shaming? It's the fat-shaming, that's what it is. I know.
Hey,
that's why I'm wearing polyester.
And I'm not ashamed.
You better not be.
Damn box.
Well, see? And then, you can have my blueberry one, too.
Oh, I love you. That's like
But do you know that if you take that whenever, you can take it from home, and if you put 8 seconds in the mic, 8 seconds for a donut, and it's fresh.
Yes.
Freshly did. Alright?
Yes. It's good.
All right.
I get stoned. I'm microwave.
Stoned? Who gets stoned? Arian, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm well. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Denver.
Oh, okay.
I'm also a teacher's assistant.
Oh, nice.
I teach kids.
I love that, though. Let's dive into okay, you're from Denver. Do you care to tell us how young you are?
27.
Oh, okay. 27. And let's see. That's interesting. You work with kids and you're a go-go.
Yeah.
And so, do you ever worry about people finding out?
Well, I was very honest with my coworkers. I told them ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And they accepted it. I assume parents come to the bar. So,
okay.
I'm very open with it.
That's really cool. I mean, it's very cool that you're able to be.
Yeah, and a lot of schools, especially where I grew up, they wouldn't have it, you know? So kudos to living in an area where education is a little bit more important in a lot of places, especially since we get a lot of the weed money to it. I love that about Colorado. On the subject of weed, do you do anything? Do you have any vices? Because I know that you're really, really strict on like food and stuff because you're a body and your work.
I'm really big on ovarian cancer because my mom passed away from that.
Oh, okay.
Passionate about that, and because I went through that whole experience with her, and so just keeping her memory alive, talking about it.
Definitely, that's cool. We'll talk about setting up a benefit. I love doing benefits, and it makes you feel so good, especially when someone's passed. It makes you feel so good to do something in someone's honor, and I'd be happy to set that up for you. So, since everyone knows at work, do you get slut-shamed at all?
I have a habit of like parents look me up, and I've like my boss will tell me that they've looked me up, and I will block them.
Okay.
And I feel like it's kind of personal, but it's not personal. I'm going to teach your kids. If you want to talk to them, just talk to them about it. You don't have to ask them about it.
Right.
I would assume like I'm some slut, or I'm sleeping around, or whatever they think.
Or exactly the definition of slut-shaming.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. So, what did you do before you were a teacher's assistant?
Oh my gosh. I worked at a nursing home.
Okay.
Yeah.
How cool. So you're just really all about helping people.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. Make some noise for that. I'm definitely about that too. So on Monday night, how much fun is it for you to watch Nick in the limbo contest?
I watch him. Like, I have trust in him, like, you know.
Because he's a favorite. He was definitely a favorite.
He's always there.
But even with the hosts and everything, they were aware. And I think that's good, you know, especially because he described himself as being a little bit of an introvert. And not that there's anything wrong with being an introvert. I'm glad that you all are out. And if any of you are introverts and forcing yourself to be out a little bit, you do it every week. You do it every 2 weeks. I love it. You miss 1 week, and I love you for that. That's one of our little evangelists back there. And so, anything else before we bring Nick back? No? Okay. Let's bring back Nick Marlow. I would take 2 hugs, but then that would look creepy, I'm sure. Okay. What has been the weirdest, how strong has the hate been for the dressing alike thing?
It's been kind of shitty. It's been shitty, right?
It's been shitty. People are always like, why do you dress the same?
Yeah.
And so what do you say to those people?
We say we identify as a couple, and I think when we match, people automatically assume that we're together and that love is love, and we want to show that we love each other by matching.
By matching. You know what? And I'll tell you this is the goddamn truth. Any single person that hates on the two of you for wearing the same clothing is so fucking jealous that they don't have what you have, that they have to push it outward by getting you hate. So anytime you feel it, just know that they are seething with jealousy, wishing that they had what you have. Tell me about outside of jealousy, a struggle brought on by slut-shaming for you as a couple.
I would say your mom.
Your mom? That's valid?
I feel like, because I have not met his mom, she will see something, or one of her friends will see something, and then it'll get back to him that he's hanging out with the wrong people, or he's doing the wrong things, or he's going to the bar too much. When meet somebody beforehand and then give her a kick. Like, you know, she doesn't know anything about me. No.
Do you think that there's anything in the fact that you have feelings about not having met his mom yet that are behind the fact that you've lost yours?
Well, I just know my mom would act like that. I know my mom wouldn't prejudge somebody for just by pictures or not talking to them or just assuming things.
Right.
That has been like the biggest struggle. His mom will assume and then she'll judge and then it puts pressure on me because he gets mad because he thinks we're going out too much and things.
Of course.
And overanalyzes and then it becomes a big thing.
On that, I mean, speaking maybe from Nick's mom's point of view a little bit, all of that comes from a place of fear too. She definitely doesn't. She cares for her baby a lot, obviously, and she doesn't know how to care for a boyfriend, probably. And maybe this is just one of the hurdles that she has to get over. My mother had to get over so many hurdles to allow a partner of mine to come to a function or anything right now. And then my grandmother died, her mother, and then my dad died, and then the bitch came out. So it was like, I love her to death. I'm fucking alive right now. That's great.
Hi, Mom!
But yeah, and just like anyone, moms are on a constant journey. Moms are constantly learning. And as long as we keep learning, we keep growing. As soon as we stop learning, we start dying. Yeah. So I really love, I love that she's on a journey, and I wish the best for that. What do you think? Where do you see both of you in 5 years? Nick first.
So lately we've been talking about how much we love each other, and we have been talking about maybe a promise ring first, then an engagement ring, and then the wedding, and then we were thinking how we can be engaged for as long as we want to be, because I feel like he has to get to know my whole family before we become before we go that far, and so
yes. And at this rate, you may be 70.
But yeah, I love Arian. I'd say he's like the first boy I've fallen in like real love with.
Wait, how did y'all meet?
We met at X Bar.
Okay.
Through Facebook first, and then we're like, let's meet up.
Do you want the fucking mic? River's back here taking control. When you're the stage manager, that means you manage the stage. I guess that works out. But no, if anybody ever does have a question, we do a Q&A at the end with all the guests. But if you have a question, fucking raise your hand and I'll, or like open your legs or something. I'll pay attention. Arian, where do you see the two of you in 5 years?
Maybe engaged for a long time until his mom can get over her issues. I have to get along with her.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because she's a part of him, she community, so I have to get along with her. But I feel like once I talk to her, she sees me in person, not sees my pictures on Facebook or Instagram, whatever she's looking at, that she'll see that I'm normal. I don't like.
What if you meet her on the show? I mean, because then she would kind of be in a spot that's safe for you. A safe spot for you. Yes, Mom, we want you to come on the show. And is there any part of you, Arian, that wants to call her mom?
No.
No? Okay.
No, because I have a mom, and I know what my mom projected, and she wouldn't like. I'm not saying love.
Oh, no, that's
my
okay.
mom's projected love. And acceptance, and she's going to do that. I know my mother very well. She won't do it.
Very, very good point. Very good point. I've had so much fun talking with the two of you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking your time out and opening up your and
an interestingly titled photo pictorial that got a whole load of attention. I have known her for a while, and I'm constantly inspired by everything that this next woman is. Please make a whole bunch of noise for Kyleigh AnneMarie!
Thinking my songs are about them. This is not to get confused. This one's for you. Baby, you my angel. You all I have. You everything. You be my baby. I'm always like that life. So when it's me, cause you know me now. Every time I hear you, when I get back,
Okay! Now you said
I just got done smoking so I have links, and then the Louboutins. Yeah.
they do their things.
Yeah.
Alright, have a seat, let's talk. Let's Sesh. I'm well, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good.
I think you just set a precedent. Now we have to have everyone make a fucking entrance, okay? I don't think anybody on the show has ever made it all the way over here and gotten another round of applause, so that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kyleigh, tell us a little about yourself.
I am 25 years old, transgender, male to female. I am a transgender activist. I know that this gets thrown around like so much, but now I can't even think of the damn word, so obviously it's not that important. They say it in the art. Socialite. Socialite. They call me a socialite.
Yes.
So yeah.
And as social.
I mean, I've kind of. It was just like a weird set of Instagram events that led to like me like calling out like Kylie Jenner for like basically ruining the Super Bowl by like postponing her pregnancy intentionally, in my opinion, till the day of the Super Bowl, even if it was just like 12:01.111 or whatever, or whatever the smallest number is. I'm not good at those, but
Numbers not your thing.
I just was, I made a point of it, and like, I don't know what it is, like, call it the estrogen shot that I have to give myself every 2 weeks, but I cried, and it was like very heartfelt, and like, it went like crazy, and like 2 days later, I'm like walking down Colfax, and someone's like, I thought you were a world star, and I'm like, oh god, oh my gosh. Not world star, no.
That's the one you saw?
It went to like Pink News in like the UK and got like a lot of coverage over there, and you know it's just so interesting to me, like the difference in like the way that sexual culture is looked at in Europe versus the United States. And it's kind of like, it's like polarizing, like it's so weird, like it's really weird. Like here, there's so much stigma around absolutely everything, and over there, you know, like there's tits on an Australian fucking news show, and there has been for however fucking long that show has been going, and it's still going, and you know, the Irwins watched that when they were little kids, and there's nothing wrong with it, because it's a human body. There's a difference between a human body and sexualizing a human body. And I think that, like, for me, like, the reason that I like to show off my body is because I believe that my transition was like a work of art that I had to kind of like go through and put together and still struggle with.
Well, literal blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, no, honey, I mean, like, The drainings.
The drain. Oh, I just saw that. Did anyone see the
Have you ever had to measure fluid draining from your body? It's not fun. It's really not fun. And then to have like a tube pulled out that's been placed like all the way around your like hip, all the way down like your ass, and then like out a hole that comes out your ass crack, and you're just like, and I thought that bottoming was bad. Like I'm very proud about the fact that like I don't, you know, I think about having a vagina, but for me, I don't believe that medical technology, unfortunately, is to a level where it could create something that I would feel comfortable with. I remember my first erection in preschool. So, it's so similar to, F to M trans people who don't have this stigma around bottom surgery so much. It's almost not even talked about.
Right.
They get their top surgery, or some of them don't even get their top surgery, and nobody says anything about it. But you better fucking believe every damn tranny in the fucking city is counting down the months until the bitch gets her titties after she starts her hormones.
Exactly.
And that's not something that I think is fair. It's not, I was privileged enough for my parents to, my mom to be able to do this. And it almost cost her marriage. And, so there's a lot of things that went into play, and we didn't know how we were going to do it. How do you come up with $25,000 to do a facial feminization surgery and breast augmentation? It's just like, they're like, oh, talk to this loan specialist and blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, well, my credit is shot, so...
Do you find that you got slut-shamed more before or after your breast augmentation?
Oh my gosh, so much more now. Like, now that I've transitioned and I'm out, like, the pictures that I posted before were like probably like borderline vulgar, and a lot of them are still up on Instagram because I've had this like internal struggle where like I feel like it's kind of strange for me to delete those pictures, and you know what? A lot of people have their own like ways that they deal with their transition. But for me, I'm not scared of who I was before. I just look at it as a person who was not themselves. Like I say this like, it can be like thought of so many different ways, and I've gotten like read to filth for saying it, but like, in a way, he had to die so that I could live. And it was something that, like, he knew from day one. It's just that he didn't belong.
And that's exactly why we call it a dead name.
And people don't understand that. They think that it's something that's like, that it's offensive being said because it's your previous name. And people don't think about the fact that, like, you're like coaching yourself into being yourself, and that's not easy thing to do. Like, I was not a Miss Pretty Princess. Like, I went to a wilderness camp for 19 weeks in the middle of nowhere, Utah, because that's what my parents thought was best for me, and then ended up in a therapeutic boarding school where I was molested by he was supposed to be the nurse for the school, but he wasn't even a licensed medical professional. Like, he was taking his like EMT courses while the abuse is going on. Wow. And I'm very open about sharing about it because I think that, you know, like, people don't realize that, like, you know, my parents feel so much guilt, and they think anytime that we fight, I'm, like, blaming them for that. And it's not that I'm, like, blaming them for that, because who would spend $50,000 because they think their kid is going to kill themselves because they're going through a fucking crisis and they don't know what to do, and they've ended up in the hospital multiple times and things are not working out. You know, the trauma that I went through as a child and then to go through it again at a program, it's, you know, it was a lot to deal with, to say the least. But you know what, like, it's not something that I, like, dwell on. Like, I just think that it's, like, sharing is, like, food for thought, because, like, I don't know, I think that people maybe sometimes get, like, a different impression of things.
Do you think that people still slut shame victims of abuse?
I was slut shamed from the first deposition. They told me that I was targeting boys at the school for, like, sexual interaction, and it was, like, the farthest thing from the reality, when I was just, like, extremely, extremely, extremely effeminate, and I'm in a house full of very sexually frustrated teenage boys who don't know shit about what the fuck is going on in their life and will look for some sort of outlet. And I feel like it became me because I was just used to being used like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow.
So it's kind of, you know, I don't know. I have my own feelings about things like that, but it's definitely, like, something that I feel like is worth sharing and very important.
Right, definitely, and I thank you for that. How do you feel about the decriminalization of sex work?
I feel like the decriminalization of sex work, I feel like if we followed a model of something that was similar to what Canada is doing, or, you know, the UK, where it's, you know, kind of like a register where, you know, you, like, sign up for it and, you know, people can find you, and it's not, you know, it's more, I think the like, scary screening process is kind of taken out of the situation, because, you know, like, a trans person could just be, like, sitting there dreaming about that last $1,200 that they need for this surgery that is gonna fix their dysphoria, they think, and make them feel better. And they don't know if the person walking in the door is going to murder them, rape them, force them to do, you know, hard drugs that they don't want to do against their will. I myself, it's really hard to say, but fell into a negative situation where I feel as though I was trafficked and didn't know that that was happening at the time.
And you didn't talk about anything that you don't want to talk about?
No, I'm very open about, like, everything. Like, I think that, like, sharing is, like, vital. There's a reason I don't talk.
Exactly. Right.
It's just, you know, I think that people don't realize how quickly an interaction with somebody and then, you know, somebody else, you know, sets something up, and
you think that you're just...
You don't know what's going on.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. You just think you're, like, receiving attention, which is really hard to find as a transgender person. Physical contact. I was in the hospital the other day with like tachycardia and high blood pressure issues that I struggle with. And they threw a hot blanket on me, and I was like, this is the closest thing I've had to sex in like 6 months.
Wow, yeah.
Like,
I'm sure.
I mean, it's honest. Like, you know, humans are meant to
It's
interact.
always that you can identify.
Humans are meant to interact with each other, and I think that, you know, it's not, you know, that's not always just like an easy equation that's just, you know, readily available. It was for many a year for me, but, you know, it's just, that's not the same anymore, so.
So it makes it really ironic for you to get slut-shamed at all.
That's what I like. That's what I think is like the most interesting. Is like I feel like people will, you know, like make fun of me and say all sorts of nasty things because I post provocative pictures and I'm very proud of my body. And I haven't had sex in fucking 6 months. Like, where the fuck is the dick at?
Yeah, we're doing an open call. I think if we're live, we can get you spelled by the
Let's
end of it.
relax a little bit, darling.
Okay. Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and invite everybody else back up. We're gonna have a Q&A. But
I get dark.
Just let me know now by raising your hand or opening your legs. I always like that too. I have a question for everybody across the board, and you can just answer starting down there with Kyleigh. And, just do like about a 30-second response. What is something that we can do to change the stigma behind sex work?
I think that people need to realize that, like, sex is something that humans were meant to engage in. It wouldn't feel good, and the parts wouldn't fit together, and the puzzle pieces wouldn't work if the puzzle was not meant to be beautiful. And, you know, that doesn't matter, you know, like how it fits together, because obviously lots of different people and enjoy their bodies in so many different ways, and sometimes I'm intrigued and I think I'm kinky.
Pasha?
30 seconds. How many times can I say this in a row of 30 seconds? It's just a job.
Okay.
It's just a job. It's just
Say it with her. It's just a job. Exactly. Arian?
Feelings are not involved. That's trust.
I think having more open conversations like this and getting people's personal opinion and seeing where other people come from, what kind of sex you like, what kind of sex you don't like, what do you think is shameful about sex? Let's have more conversation.
Yeah, I would say, well, the sex world in the gay community is so different from anything, because I'd say, like, there's a lot of people, a lot of guys who just want to have sex and will try to have you over just to have sex, and I feel like guys need to respect someone and get to know someone before they just invite them over to do that.
Thank you. Okay. There we go. We have opinions across the board. Does anyone else have a question for our guests? Don't you? Sure you do. I'm going to come hand you the mic anyway. You got to think of a question. You can even point to somebody, or you can just ask a question for the whole panel.
No questions, but I learned a lot tonight, and just thinking of somebody.
He's looking at me.
There has to be a question that you have a question. Now that you know more.
No, but thank you for being vulnerable, and that's why I love this show, because I always learn something about people, and that's why I come. That's why I'm an evangelist. So.
Yay! Awesome. If anyone else has any questions, does anyone else? Oh, we got a question from Paula. Oh, we have to do this thing right here. I'm so sorry. I was gonna say this before. Has anyone ever not done poppers before?
Can I have a song?
Hold on. Paula, come up here. Are you serious? This is terrible. I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay. Maybe I should.
Was if you, I've experienced slut-shaming a lot. Yeah. Because I'm a very open person and, love those love and all that. I'm super ally for everything.
Yes.
How have you dealt with your family or people who are closest to you?
Oh, I lost my favorite grandmother in the entire world because she's a Jehovah's Witness, and I was brought up in that, and I think that religion, is, in my opinion, and this can be fought over so many times, but just every religion in the world, it just seems, tends to usually just be a good guide for life. And I think that sometimes it gets taken a little bit too far with the extremes of things, when in reality, they're so similar. It's just, there's a reason that the Jewish people didn't eat pork, because it wasn't safe to eat it, they didn't know how to cure that. They didn't know cooking it would get rid of it. They thought pork was dirty because it made them sick.
So, finish the question, and Pasha?
I'm awful, sorry.
Especially maybe someone that you have been dating for a long time and you're very comfortable with that person and you're like, okay, well, I like this laundry list of things, and I go, well, have you done those laundry list of things? And it's like, well, I'm almost 40 years old. Yes, I've done everything that I wanted to do in my past, and I'm curious about things. And I feel like sometimes the people that are closest to me want to judge me for that, and I'm like, I've been with you for over half a decade.
I think the past, with sex, the past is the past. It's really the past is the past. I struggle with that hard because I'm a Virgo and really easy to get fucking jealous as shit. And I've had to learn that, you know what? People are people, and sex fucking feels good. So, sorry that my hot person that I'm into had hot sex with another hot person. Isn't that what we were hoping for?
I'm super jealous. I'm a Taurus, and I should be super jealous, but I don't feel like I have that all the time.
There's no reason to be jealous when you're confident in a relationship.
Okay.
Ethical polyamory is based on...
See, you're learning something.
Ethical polyamory is a thing, and it's based a lot around trust. It's based a lot around when people get jealous, a lot of the time it's because they feel insecure in the relationship. And feel threatened in the relationship. And so a lot of ethical polyamory couples, first of all, it's not as sexy as people think. 99% of it is scheduling things in the calendar and calling everybody going, how was your day? Everybody does their own thing. But if you're with somebody and it's such a huge divide, even if you've known them for a long, long time, sometimes you have to make a very painful choice for your future and your well-being and your self-care, your health in general, personally.
Does that give a good answer for you? All right, good deal. Thank you, Paula, for your question. Anyone else?
My relationship ended when I couldn't handle it.
I always like to do this. Dominique, come down here. I'm sure you have a question. This is DJ Dominique. We need to make it a little thing for every show. Dominique's Corner. There's sex shaming in that. Oh, I didn't even see that you have a mustache growing in here.
Unfortunately.
What's unfortunate? Oh, you're doing the no-mo November?
No-mo?
Give me a fucking mic.
I personally feel that facial hair is not part of my narrative, so this is just here. So ignore it. But I I think a good question involving slut-shaming and stuff is, when you go on to dating or hookup apps, you have so many people that are aggressively like, don't message me unless you're just looking for friends or workout buddies or hiking buddies or whatever ridiculous things that requires friends even though I'm showing you my shirt off. How do you navigate around trying to talk to people in that environment, especially when they're fronting like they don't want to engage with you physically or anything? Just navigating the barrier between like introduction and intent. How about that?
My friendly thing called the curb. The curb. Bye. Okay. We're gonna do it? Okay.
If it's not right, it's not right. People fight for years and years and years to try to get things that are never going to work.
Yeah.
And I did that, and all it did was like hold me back in my transition and make me get super addicted to lip filler to the point I was like famous just because I had too much filler. And then I got famous because of my transition.
It was the lips.
It was the lips. I forgot. It was the lips. Because I dissolved them.
Yeah.
I got rid of
That was all
all
very
of the
public
filler.
too.
So I don't look like a rag doll anymore. Because I'm a lot more confident in myself, and I just looked in the mirror one day and I was just like, I don't look like me, and that's weird.
I had this analogy that was told to me about like relationships, and it was that if you go in the fridge in the morning, you get your milk for your cereal, you give it a good, and it's bad, do you put it back in to think it's going to be better tomorrow? Okay. Pasha, you going to answer that question?
Specifically with dating sites? Well,
Yeah, just how people will say they're looking for one thing. They're saying they're looking for one thing on there, and then they're not. Like, I've had people say they're just looking for friends on their profile. They send me a picture of their ass, and I'm like, okay, what are you looking for? You're confusing.
First of all, it's a dating profile. And so the assumption is there that you're there to have a romantic interlude or whatever it could be.
You're allowed to make an ass out of both of you.
Of course, I would always list, are you generous? But oh God, I have the funniest story about a guy that I met on a dating app, the only one I actually went out with socially. And I got him confused with a client, and he showed up and knocked on the door. And I opened the door thinking it was going to be this client. I was like, oh my God, that was awful. I love it! I can relate. I can totally relate to that. But the fooling around was really good. So, exactly. But, yeah, I mean, people...
What is this, role play? Okay, I'm in
for it. But, I mean, as far as... I mean, honesty is always the best policy, but you can pretty much assume if they're on a dating app that that's ultimately kind of what they're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they say they're not, then is it going to be fun to fool around with a hypocrite?
Because
if it is,
right. It's a form of slut-shaming also when you get onto an app and go, everyone else is just looking for sex, I'm here for love, and y'all are terrible. It's like, no, that's everyone.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I definitely know that as far as
also the people who cry after they come.
Yeah, I met Eli actually in a poly dating group. Oh, and he posted his picture, and I was the first person I wrote dibs.
Oh, okay. That's right. And that's how we do it.
Like when you lick something and you're like, dibs.
It's mine. Actually, that's a great way to do it. Consent is sexy, but yeah. I think that we have had an amazing conversation. Does anybody else have any questions before we listen to my cute little song about sex work? Anybody? Oh, you stand up and let's make a whole